Welcome to the Game Sense Football Podcast. My name is Ewan, and with me, as usual, is Nas.
Hello.
Hey, Nas, and in today's episode, we catch up with the results of Euro 2024 so far. And in the main part of our episode after that, we will address a few interesting questions posed by our listeners. It's pretty interesting, I guess, some of them. And so stick with us as we try to answer some of these questions and to give our feedback as well. So treat this episode as a bit of a palate cleanser from the usual Euro 2024 content. So we thought that, a little break would do us and everybody some good. So Nas, here's something I've been wondering.
Okay.
How did you become a Man United fan? And maybe also what got you hooked onto football in the first place?
So I know exactly how I became a Man United fan. When I was a little kid, many afternoons I would be at my cousin's house. She was 12 years older than me, my oldest cousin on my dad's side. And at the time, she was a huge Man United fan because she had a huge crush on Ryan Giggs. Also Jordan Knight from New Kids on the Block, but Ryan Giggs is the more relevant one here. She would show me a lot of old school VHS tapes about Giggs. There was one specifically where it was, Giggs teaching kids how to dribble, how to shoot, even how to tackle. There's a very famous clip from one of those tapes where he is teaching a very young Danny Welbeck how to go past somebody.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember it to this day. And that's how I became a Man United fan. Basically, I inherited this fandom through her. I know she listens to the podcast. Hello, yes. And it kind of pissed my dad off because he was a Liverpool fan. Most
Oh,
of my
man.
uncles support Liverpool. A lot of my cousins support Liverpool as well. My brother also ended up becoming a Man United fan because of this. But yeah, so
Okay.
yeah. That in the 90s there was that every club always released a CD with their seasonal songs, right?
Yeah.
And the famous chant is "Glory, Glory, Man United," and then but there was one year where there was the song where Schmeichel, Parker, Pallister, Owen, Bruce, Sharp, and it's Hughes, McClare, Keane, and Cantona, Robson, Kanchelskis, and Giggs. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, and that sold me.
Yeah, no wonder you have a crush on Ryan Giggs as well. The
Yeah.
main question is, do you have a crush on Jordan Knight?
Not really. I mean, New Kids on the Block, that fandom I did not inherit from her, for better or for worse.
Hey, cool. Good to know. And good to hear you sing as well on the podcast. Your
First
singing
time for
debut.
everything. Yeah.
Singing debut now. Singing debut. Euro 2024. Let's start with that. How about that?
Yep. Sure. Even though we did say it was a palate cleanser from Euros, but that's as good as a place to start as any.
Yeah, we can't ignore Euro 2024. It's still going on right now. We are deep into the round of 16. We've had some interesting games, I would say. Some probably predictable games as well. Yep. So currently, favorites. Some of our favorites, at least. Germany will be playing Spain. I think that will be the pick of the round.
Yeah, just probably the two favorites for most people.
Yes, exactly. And of course, I think followed close behind by France versus Portugal as well.
Portugal, who just managed to squeeze through this morning.
Just managed to squeeze through, and France as well, requiring an own goal by Jan Vertonghen. So we were asking like, what's Jan Vertonghen still doing at Euro 2024, right?
Helping
France.
So
that's why he was there.
Yeah, the other side of the draw is quite interesting as well.
Yeah, I think it's like the underdog side. So you have Switzerland through already. They will be playing England next round. And also you still have a few games as of the time of recording that haven't been played. So the Netherlands, Romania game, and
Austria, Turkey.
Austria, Turkey, yes. So these games, I think, are pretty interesting because we are very likely to see, one of these underdog teams getting through all the way to the final.
One of those teams is going to be in the final.
To be honest, I would personally like to see like Switzerland, get to the final.
Yeah.
And then Granit Xhaka winning the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, our very faithful listener, Nigel, is
Mm.
asking us who is going to be in the final for Euros.
Ah, firstly, hello Nigel,
Hello,
and thanks for
Nigel.
asking. Yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, so I would say the winner of the Germany Spain game would probably be in the final. I would go with Germany, with home ground advantage, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, they've been playing very, very well. Spain too, actually. Spain has been playing very, very well. So I think it'll be a tough call, but I would go with Germany with the slight edge, based on home ground advantage.
Mhm.
And I've already said I hope Switzerland will go through. So that's where I'll put my money on.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the quarterfinals, like we said, Spain, Germany, the two favorites, Portugal versus France, the two teams with the good squads, but for some reason have not been able to attack well at all this tournament.
Hmm.
If it's Netherlands and Austria, it would be Wout Weghorst against Ralf Rangnick. If and
Ah.
England versus Switzerland is the battle of the teams with red and white crosses.
Yes, yes.
I would agree with you that Spain Germany, the winner of that match, would go to the final. They probably win the whole thing. I would love to see either Austria or Switzerland in the final. Difficult, but I mean, is it difficult? Austria over Netherlands and Switzerland over England isn't that far
doesn't
fetched, right?
doesn't look so far fetched actually,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
England hasn't been playing well.
Mm,
Switzerland, they have been solid. I mean, as they have been in past tournaments,
yeah.
um, solid at the back, and somehow if they can find the goals, I think they will be able to do well. Yeah, I mean
Mm,
they absolutely dominated Italy in the round of 16.
yeah.
That said, Italy,
Italy.
not
Yeah, I mean,
really.
Stefan Al-Sharawi started the game again, I think.
Yeah, man, what? Wow. I mean, when El Shaarawy is first choice, I think there's some selection issues there.
Yes, yes. So there hasn't been a single game where England has looked good. That being said, you don't have to play well to win a tournament.
Yeah, I mean, look at Portugal, right? In
Mm.
2016, England played well for 2 minutes, perhaps.
Yeah,
Against Slovakia.
Slovakia.
Slovakia was it? Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe Gareth Southgate would have learned something from that game, from that 2 minutes. You never
Yeah.
know.
So, okay, gun to your head, who is in the final?
Germany versus Switzerland.
Good final. I would watch that final, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of hoping, like I said earlier, I want Austria or Switzerland to go to the final, but I
yep.
think just from the pure footballing perspective, it would be nice to see Germany, Holland in the final.
Also very possible. I mean, like we said, right, on the other side, the England side, it looks like any of those four teams could go through. In fact, it may be Romania.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very true. It could even be Romania, it could be Turkey.
It
So
could be Turkey.
yeah, we're
Yes.
just assuming Holland beat Romania.
Yes. That's right.
I need my Brian Brobby prediction to actually happen.
Has the guy played
I don't think so.
even? I don't think he has
But
even come on, right?
if he comes on tonight and scores the winner against Romania, does a Jude Bellingham and scores a
Yeah, yeah,
bicycle
yeah.
kick, who knows?
He'll be a legend. Yeah, he'll be a
Yep,
legend
like
already.
Newcastle will buy him for 47 million or something.
You never know.
Yeah. You're going with
Hmm?
Germany, Switzerland.
Yes, Germany, Switzerland.
I'll go with Germany, Holland.
Germany, Holland,
Hopefully that answers your question, Nigel. If you win any money from this, we expect commission.
or a few drinks at least.
Yes, there's that.
On to our next question
Mm,
from Laura.
Laura,
What's our favorite football TV show or movie?
that's an interesting question.
I'll go first. I'm assuming I'm gonna discount all those documentaries. I
Oh,
think
my answer would have been one of the documentaries, but go on.
I mean I see TV show or movie, and I think more of entertainment.
Okay,
Right now, I think top of that list would be Ted Lasso.
okay, okay.
Brilliant show.
Mm,
Very funny. I think it pokes fun at football quite a bit
mm.
as well. When I was younger, I used to really like the movie
Goal, yes.
Goal, and there was a Goal 2.
There's a
Was
goal
it a
three,
3?
right? I'm pretty sure there was a three. I think
If
it's
there was
him going
if
to
there was a
Newcastle, him going to Real, and him at the World Cup.
correct Newcastle, Real. So World Cup. I don't remember 3, to be honest. I remember the Real, up to the Real one. Santiago Munez,
Mm.
the guy.
do you know the story about why it's Newcastle?
No.
So the producers of the show actually wanted it to be Liverpool,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole show was written for it to be Liverpool. And at the last moment, or maybe not last moment, but at some point, Liverpool changed their minds and said no. So they went with Newcastle, and that's why in the first movie he scores that free kick against Liverpool.
Liverpool.
And
Just stick it to them.
yeah, if you remember that free kick, it's a screamer for a left-footed free kick, but the
Mm-hmm.
whole show he's right-footed
Right-footed.
because that's actually Laurent Robert scoring against Liverpool for Newcastle. Yeah.
Ah.
So I guess for me, if you're discounting the documentaries,
You
then
can go in documentaries though. I mean,
let's discount documentaries for a minute. And
yeah.
aside from Goal 1, 2, and 3 and Ted
Mm-hmm.
Lasso, does that mean we're only left with Bandit Like Beckham and Shaolin Soccer?
Oh my God, Shaolin Soccer. I watched that. I watched that. I
Is
remember
there is there anything
I was
else?
really young though. Is there anything else?
I feel we're missing something obvious. I do remember watching Bandit Like Beckham in the cinema though, in when I was a teenager probably.
I don't remember much.
Keira Knightley, right?
Yep, Keira Knightley. That's all I remember.
Keira Knightley has like from Bandit Like Beckham and Star Wars.
Yeah, Star
Hmm.
Wars as the decoy double
Yeah,
for Natalie Portman.
yeah. Okay, I have to go with one of the documentaries. I can't say I in love with any of those ones, but my wife and we've recently started watching Welcome to Wrexham.
Ah,
It's very good, and like I wouldn't say she's hooked, but she's so bought into it, and like watching Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, watching them grow from like curious doing this for fun
mm-hmm,
American, I don't know anything about football investors, to they really really give a shit and they're so invested in it. And my wife has also become so invested in the story. Watching her is as entertaining as watching the show itself. Admittedly, there are some episodes where obviously it's just filler, but
mm-hmm.
the show is very very well done.
I should watch it. I haven't watched it actually.
It's really good, and it's the way they've produced the show. You can enjoy it even if you know nothing about football, like my wife, or if you know a lot
Mm,
about football. I'm not saying I do, but even if you're a fan, you still get something from the show.
guess I can get my wife to watch it then.
Mm,
Yeah,
definitely, yeah.
sounds good. Did you have a chance to watch this 1999 the 99 documentary,
I
the
haven't read, but that's supposed to be really good. I don't have Prime, that's the issue. I need to creatively acquire that
you need
show
to somehow get it, yeah.
somehow. Yeah.
I watched a bit
Mm,
of that. It's good. But also in the sense that, you have to be a football fan. You have to be preferably a United fan to appreciate you have to make the most out of it. Why I'm not, listing all these documentaries as favorites of mine, because
mm,
number one, I didn't watch Welcome to Wrexham.
mhm,
And secondly, those like the 99 one, it's a lot of walking down memory lane,
mm.
rather. It's a lot of the nostalgic factor as a fan. You're
Yep,
watching it to feel good
yep.
about the club that you support, right? So personally, it's not really entertainment in a sense. It's more of just, yeah, good vibes, just to watch for the good memories, and maybe just learn a thing or two behind the
Do
scenes.
you do you think a non-United fan wouldn't enjoy the 1999 show?
It depends on whether you can stand United or not. I mean, for neutrals, I believe it's okay, right?
Mm,
But if you have like some of our friends are Liverpool fans and they just can't stand United,
mm.
they wouldn't waste their time watching. I wouldn't ask them to waste their time watching it, right?
Yeah. Do you think it's like the Beckham documentary, because that was very heavy on obviously on United and 1999?
Yeah, I think Beckham is a little bit more interesting because you're really delving into the person
Mm-hmm,
himself,
mm-hmm,
into the stories that came about after he found fame.
yeah,
You talk about a bit of his life story. You talk a little bit about his family story,
mm,
how he dealt with fame, how he dealt with having all the money,
mm,
and how he dealt with relationships as well. I think that's a little bit different. It was good insight into the man,
mm,
David Beckham.
yeah, yeah. So Ted Lasso and Welcome to Wrexham are our answers for Laura.
Yes. Yep.
And you need to watch Welcome to Wrexham, and I need to watch Ted Lasso. I've still never watched it.
Ted Lasso is good. It's really
Yeah.
good. Okay, so speaking about the Beckham documentary earlier as well,
Mm.
our next question involves the man himself, David Beckham.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, David Beckham didn't ask this question.
I wish.
I wish. It's from Saj. So Saj, thanks for the question. Your question is, where would Beckham play today?
Mm.
Where would he play? Which club will he play? Which position will he play? I guess we can try to answer both.
I guess the more relevant question is what position he would play, what position or role he'd play. Those of us who saw Beckham in his prime at United and Real would know his main position was right wing, but he's played center midfielder, even right wing back, mainly for Real. Is he basically Trent today?
Not the same, I would say. Not
Okay.
not exactly the same.
Who's the closest player to Beckham today?
Do you have someone in mind? I don't have anyone in mind.
In my mind, he's halfway between Trent and Kevin De Bruyne, but he doesn't have.
He doesn't impose himself onto
Yeah,
games the way De Bruyne does.
yes, and he doesn't have like the slide rule ground through balls that De Bruyne has.
Yeah,
But he has this both of them. He has that same curling ball from the wing from the inside right channel, and that both of them are the two best in the world at playing that one ball. And well, Beckham is the only one that's probably better than them at that ball.
yeah. I mean, and Beckham had like incredible work rate. You
Yes.
know, yeah. So that's one thing. He would be the last man still running
Mm.
at the end of the game. Somehow, behind that pretty facade, he's probably the fittest guy on the team.
If he plays in center midfield, and he did that a bit through near the end of his career, he wasn't a liability in terms of the defensive shape, for example, compared to Trent.
Yeah. You think Beckham can be a wing back
Probably that
in
was my
today's game?
answer. He would be a wing. He wouldn't be a right back, but he would have to be a wing back in a 3-5-2, 5-3-2, 3-4-3 sort of system. He would be
Hmm.
great under like a Conte, under Thomas Tuchel, that sort of of manager.
I think Beckham could, I think, could succeed in midfield in today's game.
Is he Kieran Trippier?
Kieran Trippier,
Mm.
he's not Kieran Trippier. He's not. Absolutely not. Look, I think based on his work rate
Mm.
and I guess general football intelligence, he could
Mm.
play in midfield. I think more of a box to box type. Of
Mm.
course, not really so much of a pivot kind of player.
Mm. I would definitely say he's more suited to midfield than Trent, even though the game now is very different from the game in the 90s and 2000s when Beckham was playing in his prime. But even then, his skill set for midfield is more suited to than Trent is today. But he wouldn't be a right winger, right? Today?
Different nowadays. Right wingers, they're all inside forwards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would he be a left winger?
don't think so.
Yeah, I
It'll
don't
be a
think so.
waste of his. It'll be a waste of his magical right foot.
Yeah.
I would say center mid could be a nice position for him. He's not one to take the ball and dribble past the whole team as well.
He probably could play right midfield in a very rigid sort of system under someone like Diego Simeone. Yeah.
But the irony. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Is that what we're saying? Probably right wing back, maybe center midfield.
Yeah, maybe center mid or right wing back, and definitely he'll still be relevant in today's game
Would
based
he
on his
get
skill sets.
into today's England team?
Huh.
Mm.
Uh, wow, tough question. Maybe, maybe.
Would he get into today's Man United team?
Yeah, of course. Look at the right wing. I mean,
On the
come
right
on.
wing. Okay.
Yeah, come on. Look at the right wing, right? I
Him
mean,
crossing to Rasmus Højlund would be good.
I mean, it would have been great if he were there with like I don't know Wout Weghorst or something.
Yeah, yeah,
But let's say we have a team that plays right wing
yeah.
backs, right? So Leverkusen, for example.
Mm.
Do you think his skill set would get him into that team?
As a right wing back, he would be very, very different from Jeremy Frimpong though for Leverkusen.
Yeah, no pace.
No pace, that's the issue.
Yeah.
So it would have to be a team that uses wing backs to attack, but not require the wingbacks to attack the box per se, you know? Like
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he would probably be the person supplying the ball rather than
Mm,
being at the end of it, right? So the qualities of Jeremy Frimpong, for example, would be like he could burst in, get the ball, score a goal.
yeah.
Beckham would probably not be able to burst in, but he has the quality to deliver a ball from deep.
Mm,
I'm not sure whether that would be particularly useful actually, now that we're
yeah.
talking about it.
Probably not in the Leverkusen setup.
Okay.
Yep. So Beckham in this day and age, most likely right wing back, but he definitely has a place.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe midfield. Maybe.
Maybe.
So on to our next question
Mhm.
from Kunal. Is FFP actually useful, especially in light of the
Hmm.
recent, Villa, Everton, Chelsea deals? For those who don't know, FFP, financial fair play, these days in the Premier League, they use PSR quite a bit,
Yep.
which is,
Profit and sustainability rules. Spain has a slightly different interpretation of it as well, but basically it's every team can only spend a set amount based on how much they have generated and or lost in a predetermined number of years preceding a certain date. A 3 or 5 year window depending on the competition.
yeah, well, that sounds like it's really so complicated.
Obviously, the more you make, the more you can spend, the more you can basically afford to lose. There are a few loopholes and caveats to the system. And the main thing is the fact that
Mm-hmm.
if you sell a player, let's say you sell a player for 20 million, so that goes down as 20 million profit for you. Okay.
Yep.
Or, well, 20 million comes into your club immediately. But if you buy a player for 20 million, that's not you spending 20 million. If you buy for 20 million and the player is on a 4 year contract, the 20 million is amortized over that 4 years. And those who have been following football, the inner workings of football, in the past maybe 18, 24 months, the word amortization has been a very, very hot topic, especially because of what Chelsea have been doing. Basically, some
Mm-hmm.
clubs, what they do is they buy a player and they give him a very long contract so that the cost of that transfer is amortized and spread over many, many years. And so that on paper, in their books, they look like they've not spent much money.
Correct. I think we've seen that most prevalent with Chelsea
Mm, yeah.
under Todd
For
Bowley.
Yes, for example, they bought Mihailo Mudryk for what was it, 80 million, amortized over 8 years.
8 years. I mean, they are like offering 8 year contracts left, right, center. I
Unheard
think
of.
Enzo
Unheard of.
Enzo Fernandez was
Yes.
got an 8 year contract as well, or something like that.
But UEFA have since said that amortization, the max amount is 5 years now, I think, which
Mm-hmm.
more
Mm-hmm.
reasonable. But lately, there's been something else as well. The other caveat is that if you sell someone a player that has come up from your academy,
Yeah.
that is even like that's pure profit because you didn't spend any money bringing him in, correct?
Mm. Yes.
So it instantly injects funds into your balance sheet. So
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
there has been a transfer deal in the past week or so where Everton and Aston Villa have swapped two players.
Yeah.
Lewis Dobbin has gone from Everton to Aston Villa for 10 million, and on the same day, Team Irok Bunam has gone from Aston Villa to Everton for 10 million.
I think they've like each clock only like 200 plus minutes
Yeah,
of Premier League football, if I'm not wrong.
exactly. Like they've played League One football basically, which is
Yep.
welcome to Wrexham. But so Everton and Villa both have spent 10 million, but on their balance book on their balance sheet, so they have plus 10 million, but they haven't spent 10 million in their accounts. It's a bit confusing, but they've basically just magically created 10 million pounds.
Basically, it's like amortized over like 5 years. So it's like 2
Yeah,
million spent, basically.
immediate profit.
That's the crux of the question, right? So
Yeah.
with clubs practicing these loophole methods of getting around PSR, FFP, whatever you want to call it,
Hmm.
is there a point to it?
I think there is a point to FFP, but it's just that the rules need to be better written
Mm,
because
mm.
you don't want to see someone just come in and spend a shitload of money and propel a club from nothing to champions in 2 years. It happened at Chelsea under Abramovich.
It did. It did. Yep.
City have got to where they are through a mix of a shitload of money and good management.
Yes.
But they also have circumvented FFP through questionable sponsorship deals, which is what has also been voted against but in the Premier League. So I think FFP has a place in football, and football needs FFP, financial fair play, because
Mm.
what is the point? Because so some people will say FFP is stupid because it just favors the big teams. Okay. But my response is yes, it does, but there's a reason these teams are big, because they have had success in the past. Because otherwise, what's the point that if anybody can come in and just inject, $1 billion into any club and they'll win the Champions League in 3 years? What's the point?
I think it's not just about, favoring the big teams, but it's also about preventing smaller teams from entering the realm of the big teams. So if you're looking at where Aston Villa are right now, they've qualified
Mm-hmm.
for the Champions League.
Mm.
They've done pretty well for themselves. I'm not sure if you'll consider that, whether they bought their way to the top, since they did have new owners. They've actually brought them up all the way to being to qualifying for the Champions League. I think that's great. Right. I
Yeah,
think
no,
that good for them. But the problem here now is that they are not able to spend the money to boost their squad to a higher quality, to a higher level.
I would say that they've got to where they are now in the Champions League, or on to Champions League qualification,
Mm-hmm.
through a lot of good management, but they've not done it through any financial doping, to borrow a phrase from Arsene Wenger.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the current squad was built on the back of them selling Jack Grealish to City for 100 plus million.
Yep.
And that's good management from them. I think we can't say that they've been prevented from spending the Champions League money, because technically they haven't got the Champions League money yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's on them to find better paying sponsors, for example, saying that, look, we're in the Champions League now. Instead of paying us 1 million a year, give us 5 million a year. And then that's money that they can spend legitimately. But them, swapping players with Everton and Chelsea for players who, like you said, played not even 2 full games of football, for 10 times more what United have sold players who played, 15 to 20 games.
I mean, it boils down a lot to the rules and what the Premier League believe the rules stand for, right? So there could
Mm.
be two things, right? One is the letter of the law, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically what they're playing against,
Yes.
what the clubs are gaming right now.
What they're doing here.
Yeah, and there's also this, the whole spirit of the rules, right, is to basically create sustainability in terms of spend and
Yes.
clubs not going to administration. So I think there needs to be a little bit more granularity in terms of the
Yeah.
rules, in terms of they need to come up with probably a few different scenarios where they there are guidelines on how to apply the rules to certain
Yeah.
clubs.
One thing I would say, though, when you talk about sustainability and long-term stuff,
Mm,
long-term like progress and growth of football, if clubs are getting around FFP and PSR by selling random academy graduates for whatever inflated price tag, that is going to destroy a club spirit and identity. Because if clubs are going to look at any academy player as pure profit, this is how to. If I sell all my academy players, I can buy one superstar. Like, you
yep.
see why Chelsea want to sell Conor Gallagher, because he's from the academy, pure profit.
Yeah, I
But
mean it damages the development of football in a way,
yeah,
and you're really artificially jacking up the prices of nobodies.
if someone then says, look, if you're buying this guy who's played not even 2 games for 20 million, this guy has won two Premier Leagues. How much is he going to cost?
Exactly. I think there's a lot to unpack here. I think we're not gonna be going too deep
Mm,
anymore into this FFP discussion. Otherwise, I think it'll take up like the whole episode. I think
yeah, yeah.
perhaps we can do something on it, in the future. But academy players basically have become a type of commodity now already
Mm.
with this FFP thing. PSR FFP thing. So I'll answer to whether or not there is a point.
I think it's useful, but not the way it's written now.
For me, I think it comes from a good place, the idea of FFP,
Mm.
but very much like VAR, the execution has been botched quite a bit, I
Yeah,
would say.
yeah.
Okay, so we have one more from Daniel.
Daniel.
This was in the wake of the recent announcement that Dan Ashworth, Daniel, Dan, yeah,
Mm.
Dan Ashworth has been confirmed as sporting director for Man United,
From Man United.
effective 1st July. The question is, what's the difference between a director of football, a sporting director, technical director, and what makes them important to how a club is run?
Yes. Yeah. So there is actually no one blanket answer for this. Where to some clubs there's a difference. To some people, it's a very big difference. But in reality, sometimes it's used interchangeably. And I say this talking about director of football and sporting director. So in the majority of European clubs, the director of football and sporting director is the same thing, and very few clubs have both. There are a couple, but generally you can assume that they're both the same.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the director of football acts as the bridge between the manager or head coach and the board. He is the bridge, the link, the liaison, but he also holds a lot of power. And he oversees almost everything to do with the club from a sporting perspective. The
Mm.
way the academy is run, long-term planning, sometimes training, all or most of the recruitment, and also which manager is hired. He might not decide which manager to fire, but he has a big say in what manager is hired
Mm-hmm.
most of the time. And like I said, the sporting director is usually the same thing as a director of football.
And what about the technical director?
The technical director, again, in most cases, acts as the right hand man or second in command of the director of football. So for Man United, for example, Jason Wilcox is technical director. So he is
Yep.
the assistant to Dan Ashworth.
I'm not personally too overly familiar in terms of the division of work between these
Mm,
players. I mean these people, right? So in terms of being a gatekeeper of the team's style of football, beyond what the manager would be doing, would it
yep.
be under the purview of the technical director or director of football?
It would be the director of football. Sometimes the technical director would be involved only if the director of football delegates to the
Mm.
technical director. For example, Darren Fletcher used to be technical director at Man United.
And no one actually knew what he did.
Yes, because so he didn't have any say in first team matters, but he oversaw a lot of the reserve and academy stuff.
Mm.
But it's said that Jason Wilcox he speaks to Eric Ten Hag about first team matters and training and tactics at Man United.
I think it'll
Yeah,
be interesting to see what happens from now,
yeah.
especially with Dan Ashworth in the club already.
When we look at a few other clubs, I mean, Man City, for example, Dixie Bergistan is their director of football, who they got from Barcelona. So he has been there since very early doors,
Mm-hmm.
and it's him who basically set up the club to be ready for Pep Guardiola to step in and win everything that he's done in the past 6 years. You look at Ajax, for example. Ajax have a director of football and a technical director. They also have a director of transfers.
Okay.
Admittedly, that position is vacant now, but that shows that for the Ajax setup, there is a specific person that overlooks transfers. He probably still reports to the director of football, but that's how they've delegated.
Okay. So I
Yeah,
guess different clubs have different responsibilities that fall under all these guys. And
correct.
for me, what I understand is that they are also there to provide the continuity
Mm,
of the club's football or sporting direction, right? So
yes,
the director of football being, able to hire and fire managers, and also, of course, part of his consideration when hiring new managers is their football style, like I was
yes.
asking just now, right? The funny thing here is we are seeing all these director of football or sporting directors moving
Hmm.
around so frequently across clubs.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be what it used to be anymore. The purpose of the
Yes.
director of football.
Yeah. No, you're right. But I think also we're seeing a lot of it in the Premier League, these moves. But
Hmm.
in the major leagues in Europe, these positions tend to be more long term. Like Deco has been director of football for Barcelona
Yep.
since Juan Laporte has been elected, and he's overseen how many different managers. If you think about it, the director of football is basically what Ferguson and Wenger were before at United and Arsenal. He's the guy that looks after everything. Nowadays, the manager or coach in most clubs has less say, aside from training and tactics. And even then, sometimes they still have to accede to the director of football.
Okay. Good to know. Yes.
Hopefully that answers your question, Daniel.
Yes. Hopefully
Daniel.
that answers your question, Daniel. And now we should be ending this with one question to each other.
Mm. So my question to you, Ewan,
All right.
is
Go easy on me. Yeah.
looking at how shit England have been, right? Do you think it's worth them just adopting Team GB for football outside the Olympics?
Ha.
There are political reasons why this doesn't happen, to do with FIFA voting and all. But that aside, just from a pure sporting perspective,
I think from a sporting perspective, England's underperformance probably doesn't warrant a Team GB union. I mean you
you
look
think
at
so?
yeah, you look at
Scotland, Wales, and
Scotland,
Northern Ireland.
Wales.
So, but imagine England now. Okay, look at this year, right? They would like this year they would have the Scottish left backs.
So Johnny Evans can join the gang, yeah.
Johnny Evans can join again. I mean, they could have Gareth Bale, Ryan Giggs.
They could have had, yes. But
Mm,
assuming everybody under the Great Britain banner have a common
mm,
interest for this
yeah.
to happen, then yeah, why not?
How do you think
From a sporting
it
perspective, it
yeah.
will help them, achieve success. I think
How do you
that's
think England would have done? Like, would they have changed anything? You think, like, for example, so 2016, oh, that's a long time ago, but basically Gareth Bale carried Wales that far. But
yeah.
imagine Gareth Bale in the England team.
Yeah.
Do you think Team GB would have won a World Cup or Euros by now?
Hard to say. Maybe if they had, all these additional talent for the last Euro where they went all the way to the final. Okay, my question to you
Hmm.
is not so fancy. I was just wondering, what do you think about the players, number of games that they're playing these days, especially the top level players, right? For top level clubs. Do you think they're playing too many matches? Just to highlight one, I think Bruno Fernandes has already played more than 60 games this season.
Hmm.
And his season hasn't ended.
Yeah. No, I mean, short answer, yes. Long answer, very, very yes. So I think players are playing too many games. It doesn't help when competitions are modified so that there are more games, and when there's new competitions being introduced, like the expanded Club World Cup next year. I would be in favor for a cap on the number of games players can play. So
Okay.
say every player can only play 20 games before December 31st. From the start of the season to December 31st, you can only play 20 games and 30 games from January 1st to June 30th, not counting international.
If they get injured, they can make up for those games missed
No, so
during that
that
period.
like you don't carry over the 20.
Another question that's slightly related would be, with these extended tournament formats, do you think they benefit fans? Do you think they benefit promoting football more? Definitely, it gets more money in. That's really the most obvious one, right? But
Yeah,
in terms of the reason that they're saying that they're having more games is to create more excitement for fans, blah blah blah. Do you think this really helps? Do you think there's really that
I don't
benefit
think
to it?
so. It's not so exciting if less than half of the teams get knocked out after the group stage.
Yep.
The tournaments are expanded so that FIFA, UEFA, whoever the organizers and rights holders are, will make more money. because if there are more teams, there are more broadcasters and more sponsors that want to get involved. For example, let's say Romania wouldn't have qualified for the Euros this year, but because they did, because it's expanded, a TV station in Romania is going to pay 2 million euros for the rights for the tournament to broadcast it in Romania. Yeah, this isn't always the case. But like, for example, in the last Euros, Iceland would have qualified anyway. So Iceland getting as far as they did wasn't dependent and wasn't because of it being expanded. But that's the rationale behind the organizers doing it. It's not for the fans. I mean, if it's for the fans, they wouldn't.
It's for money. It's for money. That's for sure. That's for sure. Right?
If it's for the fans, they wouldn't have the games have like every team play in a different city every match day.
That's
If
true.
it's for the fans, you have one team, one group be in one city, and then the fans can be based there. They don't have to spend all the time traveling and wondering and like and worrying about accommodation and lodging and the logistics.
Yep. Good point. Good point. So there you have it. That about wraps it up for our fan mailbag. Oh, not fan now. Do we even have fans?
Of course. We should open an OnlyFans.
Oh my gosh. Stay tuned for that. So anyway, yes. If you have any questions, if you want to add to this list of questions that we've gotten from our listeners, please do email us or leave a comment. You can find the links in the description. And remember, we post regularly on Instagram as well. So do give us a follow over there at Game Sense Football. The link is also in the description. With that, that's the end of our palate cleansing episode. So until next time, see ya.
See you. Glory, glory, Man United.
Go watch some Ryan Giggs football tutorials.
I will do that right now.